Human trafficking is where someone is pulled in, typically by someone they know and trust. And they are pulled in for the purpose of being sold for sex.
Human trafficking is a global crime, and it's on pace to surpass the drug trafficking industry. And why that is, you can sell a human multiple times a day. You can only sell a bag of drugs one time.
Human trafficking, it's based on a business model. You have supply and you have demand.
As different social media platforms become more popular with children, the perpetrators go where the children are.
Our kids are being groomed sexually online, and that's a hard truth.
Not in my backyard does not apply here. It's in your backyard. It's in all of our backyards.
He took everything away from me. He made every single decision for me. I had no control over anything, not even my nail color.
There are people out there literally targeting our kids, looking for our kids. They have their tactics and their techniques down to a science.
This is a problem here domestically. It's a problem internationally. We need more people involved in solving that problem at a bureaucratic level and giving the tools and resources so that we can save these children, save these women, and save these men and young boys.
I couldn't tell my parents where I lived. I couldn't carry a penny in my pocket. And I don't think people understand what that's like until it actually happens to you.
Hello, folks. Welcome back with Terry and Mike Behind Enemy Lines. I guess you can tell what tonight's show's about, right? Human trafficking. And we haven't talked about that in a long time, huh, Mike? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So much else going on.
Yeah, right. And I think we need to, put a little more emphasis on it. We have a lot of other people I could get on the show in addition to our guest tonight, Josh. And it's out there and people just don't see it as much or they don't know it's there. So therefore it's not as important to these people. So let me read off Josh's bio and then we'll bring him in and start. So Josh Fotis is the Director of Operations for Project Liberty USA, nonprofit organization dedicated to combating human sex trafficking through awareness, advocacy, education, and survivor support. In this role, Josh drives operational excellence to advance the organization's mission of prevention, protection, and prosecution of traffickers. He plays key part in the public education campaigns, community outreach, and partnerships with law enforcement and allied organizations to address the growing crisis of human exploitation, including links to the broader security and organized crime. Committed advocate, Josh has appeared on podcasts and spoke at events and raised awareness on human trafficking and promote effective solutions. His work with Project Liberty USA emphasizes actionable strategies to protect vulnerable populations and support survivors. So welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's a good thing. Great thing that you're doing, sir. So why don't you just give a little background, I know you were in the service and stuff, a little background about that, and then explain why you are so passionate about this and why you got into this, and then we'll talk about Project Liberty.
So to start, I did 4 years in the infantry upon graduating high school. And while I was there, in the infantry, what you do is you prepare to fight. And so I had almost an obsession with that preparation. I loved every aspect about it. I loved being that person, living that life, having that drive. But I knew that with the way things were going in the world and the way that conflicts were being shaped, that unfortunately I didn't get to join the military in a time where I got to go a lot of places and do a lot of things. So it's like preparing for the Super Bowl and not getting able to play. So from there, I decided that my best option was to go to school and try to aspire for something higher. So I left the military and I went to college. I did 4 years at Texas Tech University. I studied political science, global conflict, and Russian language to hopefully use in the real world. during that time, I ended up working for Congress for a little while, and then I actually ended up running a congressional campaign and seeing the political side of the voting and what happens in local politics a lot more, especially having to do with drafting of legislation, the interactions between political members in connected communities. And then upon graduating, just slightly before, I started Project Liberty, and that's what I've been doing since.
Great, great. And what made you like? What was your passion that felt you wanted to? This is a big effort, right? That a lot of time. So what drove you to want to do this? Was it something that affected your life that that made you want to do this specifically? And share us what that meant to you.
Yes, sir. So honestly, after leaving the military, I went in with the mindset of we're not there to be killing machines. We're there to teach fathers how to protect their families and how to teach sons how to protect their mothers and let everybody know that there is people that are there to help. Because if you're not effectively putting out a message of peace, right? We want to prosper, then you're only escalating the possibility of violence. And even though going through and learning that process and falling in love with it does not mean that I hope for it.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Is that something the military taught you, or that's something that you felt yourself?
That's something that I felt.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when it comes to the mindset, the military had the least amount of impact on the way that I view things. I think that they gave me the grit to persevere, and they gave me a lot of tools to be able to motivate myself to go and do other things. But I think that the mindset I brought to them, not them brought to me.
Got it.
But from there, I honestly just felt like it was a calling from God. I felt that this issue, especially with all the things we've seen released recently, that this is an issue it's flown under the radar for far too long, and it needs to be addressed more often. And the problem is that you have a lot of people that are searching for the glory of the chase. They're not actually called to be the person to sacrifice for those who have been less fortunate. So I do feel that in this is not at all what I saw for myself moving forward, but it is something that I felt like I needed to do because somebody has to do it. Right? There is somebody laying in a bed right now who is praying that somebody would make the decision to help them. And it doesn't matter that I don't know their favorite color, or I don't know their parents, or I don't know where they come from, or what language they speak, but they are dying for somebody to save them. They are dying for somebody to speak out and save people that would come after them. And I feel like that is my calling in this world, to take the burdens of that role and carry them with great gratitude and know that it is not for me, it's for them, because it's what's required of me to do. If I do not keep myself honest and selfless, then it becomes glory for me, and I need to step out.
Great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Project Liberty?
So Project Liberty is we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We operate primarily on donations currently, and we are right now advocating for survivors, for their stories, for knowledge being spread around communities, for people to be aware of this issue and know that it could be happening right under your nose without you knowing it. It happens all the time. But the future that I would like to see for Project Liberty is I would like to conduct a full-time search and rescue team led by me. That is our goal. I want to be able to work with state and federal agencies and really, really start putting the hammer down on these people and these groups. Because if we do not take those steps, then every day we don't, we show weakness. We show weakness in the fact that they are allowed to keep running these operations and keep gaining money and keep gaining stamina and traction in being able to basically run cattle out of humans. And I find that disgusting, and the world should be rid of it.
Yeah. So how old is your organization? When did it first start? When did you first start Project Liberty?
We started about 2 years ago now. About 2 years ago, about a year before I graduated college. I'm just coming up on my 1 year graduation. I haven't been out for very long.
Oh, congrats. So you work with survivors. You also try to help identify survivors, right? You create awareness, because I think one of the biggest things that needs to be done with what your organization does and some of the other ones, and there's not enough of them, is to aggressively create awareness. Because like in the western suburbs where I live, or people, if it doesn't affect them, if they don't see it, it's not an issue. Unfortunately, that's the way society is, right? And
Yes, sir.
people have to see this stuff to understand how bad and evil and destructive it is to these people. And it's not just, people out there, it's not just young children or young women, it's older women, it's older men. It's not exclusively sex trafficking. Obviously, that's the biggest part of it. But there's people that are forced to work. As I was doing research before I jumped on here, there's people that work and they listed the percentages that are working in landscaping, in bars, in strip clubs, in restaurants, and they have to pay the people. So it's not just the parent or massage parlors.
Yeah. I mean, remember that
Yes, sir.
marijuana farm in California? They had all the 14-year-olds working at it when ICE finally hit them.
So it's a bigger challenge than most people are aware of. Because I just met Josh, and Mike and I have covered a lot of the illegal invasion in Chicago before anybody, actually. And we had a lot of Venezuelans. I mean, mostly, I would guess probably 90% Venezuelans.
Yeah.
And the police reports and the FOIAs that I got, they were going into the shelters, right, when at the peak of all this craziness. They were getting phones. They call them the Obama phones, right? They were getting phones. They were getting shelter. Trendel Argua and the other Venezuelan gang members were doing human sex trafficking from within the shelters that we're paying for. We're feeding them. We're giving them the phones, and when they get caught, but they don't know whose phone it is because they use fake identifications, right? And I came across some of these guys that had two phones, so they were using our tax dollars to create and commit crimes. Another case, I saw they had they pushed multiple women out there and trying to sell them and all this stuff. It was on the phone. Then there was another guy inside the shelter that was trying to groom an 11-year-old child in the shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. I tell people all the time, trafficking often doesn't start with a crime scene. It starts with a relationship. So these guys come in here, they're all from the same place, they're all friendly, and they start to narrow in on who they want, right? So it's basically grocery shopping for them. They say, okay, these are who we have our eyes on. This is what, we want to start with. And then they act like regular people. You would never know. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, and they are extremely proficient in their business, and that business is lying. They lie about every aspect of their life. They lie about themselves, who they are, their intentions, and it works. And unfortunately, even in the more marginalized parts of our society, it works even better. When we talk about, one of the highest trafficked groups other than immigrants is children who identify in the LGBTQ community, because they're so susceptible, right? They a lot of the mental illness and the issues that circulate with that community just allows for more infiltration, because the acceptance of other people has been pushed so heavily that nobody seems to be turned away, and that allows that's the wound they seep into. They're able to just crawl inside and kind of decompose everything from the middle. It's very concerning because you think about that happening on a small scale here, at just a single facility. Imagine how many times this is happening, not only in ICE detaining facilities, but in Discord chat rooms, in Skype chat rooms, on Roblox, on anything where there is unsolicited communication from anybody, right? You can't get rid of them. You just get to hear them. And unfortunately, I think there's an epidemic of loneliness in the world, and loneliness leads to you making really, really poor decisions. And so people that are lonely and are less fortunate and have all of these happenings are prime targets for traffickers to be able to go and just sink their teeth in. And it's perfect for them.
Yeah.
And I hate every second of it.
So I'm glad you brought up the LGBTQ part for many different reasons. I got into what we're doing here. I was first started out, speaking out against the porn and sexualization and indoctrination of children. And then the left aggressively attacks us and labels us and all kinds of crazy stuff that's not true. But one of the things that they try to label us, just because we simply don't want porn in our kids' school, heterosexual or homosexual, both. We don't want either one. So they try to attack us. And then they say the statistics of the LGBTQ community of suicide and health it's way higher. And is it because I don't let them see a blowjob book at the school? No, they have, to your point that you brought up there, they have other factors that are affecting why their suicide rate is higher, why they don't feel accepted. And it's part of being in the community of which they're in. But yes, I would learn more about the LGBTQ trafficking and who is trafficking. Is it their own community?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would say that more than likely it's probably it's not members that they would consider their community, but it's people who have pushed themselves in there as members, right? They have posed as members, right? I would think that maybe they're not all unintelligent. I would hope that and they would be able to do a little bit of vetting on their own. But I think that the issue is that they have pushed acceptance more than safety.
Yeah. And regardless, the buyers are from the LGBTQ community. The one.
Yeah. There's probably a lot. There's probably a lot more than we know.
Yeah.
Well, even the traffickers. If I could jump in here real quick, even a lot of the traffickers are, and a lot of this is basically state sanctioned in places like California and Colorado and all these now where they have laws where runaways that aren't being allowed to identify as their true self from out of state, they protect them. They prevent the children from being sent back to the state they're from. Like, remember when we had, I just blanked on his name. The father from Texas, we had him on here a couple times that his wife had taken their kids to California so they could transition their, I think now 11 or 12-year-old. They're about to cut the kids' balls off. And they set these situations up, same with Oregon and other states. And then, yes, it does allow predators from the LGBTQ community or even like online, like a lot of them are getting like recruited from Roblox or wherever. The person, pretends they identify and they understand how they feel. Why don't you just, hop on this Greyhound bus, come out here to California, and then they end up in a basically trap house, turning tricks because, they ran off with whoever.
So I have this National Human Trafficking Hotline, and I'm looking. Are you familiar with that? The hotline?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
yes,
I went to Illinois. I'm from Illinois, and a lot of our listeners our followers are from Illinois. So I guess this is specific, and you might know more about this, but the signals received for 2024 in Illinois. So signals that were received by the hotline, so I'm assuming these are people that called in on the hotline of the organization, were in 2024 was 792. Signals received from signal, I guess, could be a phone call, email, a text, whatever. Signals received were from victims or survivors, specifically on their own, 219. So we got 1,000 just for this one organization. of people that reached out and contacted them, right? How was the hotline found? Referral, 33, other 759. So they talk about the types of signals. This is again just in Illinois. Hotline call 400, online reporting 144, texting 100, web chat 51, emails 40. Cases that were specifically identified in Illinois in 2024, 385. Victims that were involved in these cases, because more times than not, there's going to be more than one victim, right? Is 627 in 2024, right? Okay. Hotline receives tips in situations involving sex trafficking, labor trafficking, sex and labor trafficking, as well as situations where the type of trafficking may be unknown or not specified. So the types of trafficking in Illinois in 2024 that this organization encountered: sex trafficking was 235. Labor, there was 58 people. 58 people. Now keep in mind, these are the only ones that were caught by this organization that identified, right? So there's way more, just like the drugs coming in when they say they caught them, there's way more that you don't catch. So there's 58 that were involved with labor, then there's sex and labor. That's 47. Oh, and then there's 2 in politics. They're from the north side in Lake County. Well, that's a joke, Mike. I'm kidding. It's a bad joke. I'm talking about a couple of scumbags.
Okay. Well, you bring up a couple of really interesting points, actually. So, first of all, I'll address the reportings of human trafficking. Now, from there's ranges to this, but the based on the International Labor Organization and the UN, they estimate that there's about between 25 and 50 million reported individuals trafficked every year. I would say that number is doubled or even tripled by the unreported amounts. So we're getting, you can have a really, really good year where a lot of people report the issues and you do resolve a lot of cases, but there's so many people being shipped at one time to so many different places that you can't even imagine. It's unfathomable the amount of people that they're moving. Like, you wouldn't even think that there's this many people that could go somewhere, and they're moving all over the place. They're moving multiple places a day. You can't pinpoint a spot because they're being bought and sold at the ready, used for what they're needed, and then sent off to the next highest bidder.
Yeah, they're moving to different cities. I mean, I know, escorts back in the 80s and stuff, they were like coming in from Florida, New York. They bring them in. So I have some of the different, I want to read some of these off for the Illinois people, right? So the venues of which they work in for sex trafficking in the state of Illinois, of those numbers that the National Human Trafficking Outline gave us, again, this is just from this organization, right? So there's others and there's more, and there's way more that are not identified. Venues: illicit massage spa business, 29. Resident commercial sex, 27. Hotel motel sex, 24. Online ad venue, 7. Escort delivery service, 7. Street based, 6. I thought that would be more. Hostess strip club, 4. Pornography, 4. I thought that'd be more. Bar club, 3. What are they doing? A bar club. Other 3 is 143. Now the venues for labor trafficking, folks. Labor trafficking, not sex trafficking. Domestic work, maids, 13. Restaurant food service, 11. Housekeeping, cleaning work, 4. Illicit activity, 3. I don't know what that is. Maybe moving drug mules. Transportation, 3. Uber. Construction, 3. I thought that would be way higher. Hospitality, 3. And then other is 26.
Look, construction is probably harder to traffic people into because it's going to mostly be men doing that kind of work, and a lot of them are probably less likely to put up with somebody controlling their every move. But I mean, even think about the border. Remember when we had Aaron Stevenson and Tara Rodas on forever ago with the 380,000 missing kids? I mean, they literally had DHS delivering these children to MS-13 and whoever else all over the country. Were basically Uber for human trafficking. A lot of these NGOs at that time were also moving around the country, and there's still over 200,000 of those kids missing from the border. A lot of them are here. A lot of them were being put into forced labor in different places, sweatshops and whatnot. Other ones are being sex trafficked. And as we heard from them, a lot of them, when they're no longer good for sex trafficking or anything else, they're turned over for organ harvesting.
Yes, I saw that today too. So there's one more on Illinois I want to talk about, case demographic. This is the age. Again, this is just the communications from the National Human Trafficking Hotline. You could look that up. It's easy to find. Adults, 289. Minors are 83. I thought it'd be a little bit more than that on the minor side, right? Females, 285. Male, 61. So 61 men are out there working like slaves. Or,
Yeah.
I guess LGBTQ sex. I don't know. So, Josh, do you have any examples of any egregious things that you came across you're aware of, or things that were uncovered?
I mean, where to start? There's plenty of stories out there that you can watch now of ranging all the way from women being born into families that were the creators of child pornography to people that got trafficked out of a World Cup game.
So I heard about that as well. I mean, are you familiar with this? How does that happen? I just heard about.
I mean, I would say, take a step back and look at it from a bird's eye view. You've got a place where a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people are showing up in a spot. There's tons of traffic happening. There's tons of distraction. You can't keep eyes on everyone. A perfect place to do a swap or a drop or a meet or a snatch would be there, because there's so much happening at one time that distraction is on your side. You have all of the factors working in your favor to be able to find an avenue to get to your goal. As like if you were a trafficker, you've got the cover of the public. You wear it like a veil. Nobody knows who you are because everybody looks like you. Right? You're all dressed in the same clothes. You're all from the same place. If you swap if you've got someone with you and you pass them off to somebody else, nobody's going to notice a thing. It's a quick transaction. It's a smooth transaction. And I mean, where a better place than a spot where there's a sea of people?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. I'm not 7 feet. I can't see above the crowd. So it just happens in front of you.
Yeah. Yep. I worked for a big global company. I went to big conferences. Oh my God, they would have these old corporate executives, man. Holy cow. They take advantage of that stuff big time. Big time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's
I was just going to say, sporting events, we always have all these reports of mass prostitution and other things anyway, like the Super Bowl in whatever city it's held in. That becomes the focal point for human trafficking for the days before and days after the event. People literally bring in women and children there to traffic. That's also, sporting events are a key place for abductions. I was actually just trying to find the story because this happened in Texas, but I think it was at a Mavericks game where they tried to abduct some guy's daughter from the bathroom there. Got her out of the stadium. The guy got, I think he got slowed down by security, but was able to find her later. And this was just somebody that was trying to snatch. She was like 12, 13 years old.
I know the story you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very familiar with the story you're talking about. I'm trying to remember her name, but I wrote an op-ed about her story in specific. Highlighting different forms of trafficking has kind of been my biggest push as of recently, because it's not always white vans and dudes with black hoods on that are popping out and snatching children off the street. It looks very different in very many ways, and you brought up the organ harvesting. It's like they get used for labor, they get used for sex, and then when they're done, they're harvested for organs. And then guess what? You've got 25 different transactions with one individual. So you've made, probably millions of dollars off this one person, and then you're able to go sell their organs on the black market. It is the most grotesque
when you're saying
and perfect marketing scheme for them.
When you say 25 transactions off of one person, that's meaning they're killing them.
No, that means that they've been sold by somebody 25 different times.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I would say, roughly, I haven't seen any statistics based on how many times, people or children, whoever is being used for sex trafficking, is passed on to, how many times they're moved from location to location. But I'm sure it's a lot. I'm sure that they're probably at multiple houses a day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put that past it. But you get all of these different things. If you don't need them for sex, you use them for labor. If you don't need them for labor, you use them for sex. If they can't do either, then you kill them and you sell their organs. It's the most horrific form of business that has ever been conducted, and it's so lucrative that now even we are talking about the cartel like there's some incorporation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
They've gained so much traction and they have so much monetary value that they can basically dress up in suit and ties now and walk into a building and have a meeting with a CEO.
Yeah. I southwest side of Chicago, I got in a little trouble with mob guys back in the day, and the cartels are by far more powerful, wealthy, and dangerous than the mob ever was. By far, they have more weapons, more crimes embedded throughout the whole United States of America instead of New York, New Jersey, Philly. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. It's not just the drugs; it's human sex trafficking. All these things that you said, and like what that woman started off the show is like, you sell a kilo once, you could sell a woman multiple times in the same day. It's
absolutely
a revenue stream. It's a constant revenue stream daily, and weekly until they burn her out and they get rid of her or dump her off. People have to understand that, and it's we have to keep our eyes and ears open as much as we can because it's going to get worse.
We have to remember that people are a constantly reproduced commodity. It's not like marijuana. If you shut down all the marijuana facilities, you'd have some people growing it here and there, but it'd be, pretty much on the fritz. But people are always being born. There's people that are always being born into poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that there's always an open door to the supermarket for predators, for pedophiles, for traffickers, for the cartel, for any organization that seeks to use the innocence of one person for the financial gain of another. It's always available. And it doesn't have to be in the United States. I mean, just look at Ukraine. Ukraine was one of the largest organ trafficking nations in the world before the Russia-Ukraine war happened, and everybody either seemed to forget or never knew in the first place.
No, I didn't know. That's the first I heard of it. And was that voluntary or did somebody force them?
I mean, I think that there is, unfortunately, evil touches all parts of the world. I don't know exactly who is enforcing that, but it is being enforced. And especially there, it's easy to find a family that lives way out in the taiga and put them on a boat and gut them and throw them overboard.
Jesus. Hey, I'm looking for.
They don't have the same policing as us.
I'm looking for a new prostate. I got prostate cancer. Bad joke. I do have it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I don't have a prostate, but it's a bad joke at the wrong time. Sorry.
All good. But yeah, it's happening all over, and it happens in many different ways. I think that another form of trafficking that's overlooked a lot is arranged marriages.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a huge one. I would say that there is larger reports of arranged marriages happening, not only internationally but just in the United States than probably all trafficking, like all traditional sense of trafficking, right?
Yeah.
Because
Like people that are being forced against their will. Like imagine how many, we've got India that is notorious for
big time.
arranged marriages, right? They want to keep their culture pure.
Yeah.
But think about how many people they have there. How many times a daughter is sold to the son of another family with the addition of a dowry agreement, land titles. I don't know what happens there, but I can only imagine what's tacked on to not only her life, but it seems like that is something that flies under the radar a lot, and it's culturally acceptable because that's how their mother got married. It's how their grandmother got married. It's how their sisters got married, and that's still trafficking. They have had no consent, no availability to give their own word about what they want, and they're given off to the man who has more than likely the highest assets.
So I'm glad you brought that up too, because I just I was let go after 23 years for one of the I worked for one of the biggest international consulting firms out of the world out of Paris, and we had 400,000 employees and a couple 100,000 in India, and I worked with Indians all the time, and when I first found out about that, I'd ask many guys because I was curious, and it's tons of them have arranged marriages.
Yeah,
tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
They set it up between the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super. It is normalized there. Like I have a good friend from college that she this is prior to the border invasion here, but she was able to get a work permit after she finished college and stay here in the U.S. And a lot of that was to avoid arranged marriage she was going to be forced into as she went back to India. Now she's a citizen here now, but it's normal. I mean, there's actually guys I knew like that too. For another friend of mine that went here to UD, same thing. He avoided going back home. I think he already had dual citizenship, but yeah, he would not go back to India till he got married here because same thing. He didn't want to be forced into this arranged marriage that would have helped his family's business out. And across the whole Middle East, it happens there too. I mean, just like actual legitimate slavery still exists in a lot of North Africa, Libya, and throughout the entire Middle East. But we turn a blind eye to it. We don't discuss it, even though there's countries like Mauritania where it's just totally normal.
Mike, talk about Annie. I'm her own personal
situation. Yeah, Annie Cyrus. Right here on Ex America News. She was sold into slavery at 13, forced into an arranged marriage after that. And then eventually she was fortunate enough to be able to escape Iran, where she was born, to Turkey. And then after a few years was given asylum here. But that was after years and years of abuse. And she saw physical injuries and everything else from it because there's no protection for people in most of these countries.
Yeah, absolutely. There's it's interesting too because there's laws that protect underage arranged marriages in the United States currently that nobody knows about. And me being on the CPAC board, we have a very very knowledgeable woman named Jen Lilly who was just on Sean Ryan actually talking about this issue in specific. She's doing a seminar over that at the Counter Human Trafficking Summit in DC later this month that I'll be in attendance at as well. But it was alarming to me that there's 37 states right now that allow for arranged marriages to happen for children that are under the age of 17. I can't even believe it. And those marriages are allowed to happen and be included with a dowry that is non-revocable by the states.
Yeah.
So even if they find him in the wrong, they still can't take away all the things that came with her.
Well, remember these 90,000 Afghans that Biden airdropped here into the U.S. after the that just terrible withdrawal there. I mean, there were literally hundreds of cases of arranged marriages, and I'm not talking like two 16-year-olds that were forced together or anything like that. We're talking, 14-year-olds with 55-year-old guys. A lot of them had to be separated on base, but unfortunately, they protected a lot of them, even though there was obvious signs of abuse, and they wouldn't prosecute, they wouldn't separate them. And this is our government allowing this to continue to happen right here on U.S. soil.
Yep, it tends to. There tends to be some odd forms of protections that, obviously somebody much higher up in the government tends to make these rules and these decisions of whether we protect their safety or we allow them to continue forward until they show themselves as a threat. I don't know who makes those rules, but I would love to talk to them. Right? It seems pretty disgusting that they're asking for our protection. We're trying to get them away from this horrible thing that happened in their home nation, and we're still allowing their
abuse.
Yeah, we're still allowing their abuse to happen when they come here. I've never understood that, and it happens all the time. Now, when you're overseas, it's a different story. Like there's not the same rights and the same protections and things that happen. Like I used to hear a lot of guys talk about, when they were in Iraq or Afghanistan, and the
boys,
Afghan military. Yeah, the Afghan military that we were working with, the partner forces, when they're equivalent to like privates, like the youngest guys in the group, when they mess up, they don't do push-ups. They don't get screamed at. They're probably going to get raped. And that is yet again, I would still consider that in the realm of trafficking. Like they are keeping this boy in this position to where he can't leave without being labeled as a deserter and probably facing worse prosecutions. But he also can't defend himself against these men because it's all them against him, right? And they grow up and it becomes part of the culture, and they grow up and they do it to the next guy because it makes them feel powerful, and it creates a reoccurring cycle of neglect and a lack of urgency around the issue being that we're supposed to protect each other. Regardless of your culture or your nation or your political demographic or any of that. As humans, the first sign of civilization is mindfulness. You take care of the people around you. If you haven't befriended them, maybe you should, instead of thinking about yourself. I feel like there's been this big circling issue of evil seeping itself into the world and all these nooks and crannies that we've never seen. And I would accredit a lot of that to social media, where social media has allowed for our minds to be very infiltrated without our knowledge. Yes, we get to see the parts of the world that are evil, but we are also susceptible to the evil itself.
Yeah. So Josh, before we finish here, because Mike, we'll do a couple local things when we're done here. But Josh, can you two things tell people, human sex trafficking, it's out of view of many, many people, right? So if you're not a John or guy that's involved, seeing that, it's kind of hard for somebody to identify it, or maybe even with some people that are working in landscaping, it's not as prevalent. But what are the traits that people can look for, identify, try to figure out if somebody is being trafficked? And then after you answer that, tell people where they could go to try to donate towards your organization to help you continue with what you're doing.
Yeah, I would say recognizing trafficking, it's tricky, right? Because you have people that are trafficked into these labor positions, and unfortunately sometimes they want to stay. They don't have any money to send home to their family, and this provides it. And even though they have to give up quite a bit of it, they can still send home what's left. So you have an issue of people stay quiet because they're afraid of the risk. But I would say the best way to identify trafficking is peculiarities, right? So if you see obviously an older man or an older woman with a younger girl or a younger boy, or
sounds like
maybe
sounds like my wife. Kidding. Another bad joke. Go ahead.
But if you see these things, it doesn't mean that they're being trafficked, but this coupled with just general weirdness, I would say that is what gets the attention of people more than anything when it comes to trafficking. Just a general vibe of weirdness. Like they're acting strange, they're talking strange. Like one person is usually going to be a little bit more on edge. Usually the victim is going to be, kind of in this fight or flight mode. But they show it in so many ways. It's hard to pinpoint. There's people leave notes in bathrooms. People do hand signals. People mouth words. People say, they'll get up and scream, "Help me." But I would say recognizing uneasiness in a public setting is a pretty likely indicator of maybe a suspicion to trafficking. It's just going to be a lot of very, very odd social interaction with the person who is trying to keep them at bay and the person who is trying to escape. It's just you'll feel it. It's hard to explain the concept of awkwardness, right? That you maybe have never felt before, but it happens a lot. So I would say if you're looking to be more aware, the social ability to recognize when somebody is under stress or under fright is more valuable than anything when it comes to identifying trafficking, especially if you're somebody who doesn't have any tools or prior training to be able to identify it. You just as a regular person, you're out eating with your family, you're out, at a water park or the casino or at a World Cup game, whatever it is. You can just take a second. There's something that we do in the military called SILS, right? Stop, look, listen, smell. You can kind of apply that principle to a public setting. You will notice that you notice a lot more than normal.
As you were talking, you made me think of something else that's important that we didn't touch on. So many of these people too that are trafficked here, especially that are associated with the cartels, they have family members, and the people that are being trafficked, their family, they're holding threats of life against the family members back home. Threats of life that if they don't do what they want to do, and they're going to threaten to kill them. So they're kind of forced in such a way that they feel they have to do this to keep their family alive. I mean, could you talk a little about that before we go on?
I think that when you start finding those scenarios, you kind of get put between a rock and a hard place because it's very delicate, right? We want to protect the individual who is suffering from the trafficking, right? But people lie when they're scared. If you're really dealing with something that's that pressing, I would say that right now the cartels and other like organizations, they have enough money in people that they don't need to threaten your family. Right? They can go find somebody else with no sweat. It takes nothing. It happens in an instant. But when people are scared, they'll say anything to make you go away or to back off. Right? It's like, "Oh, I can't tell you about it. Like my family's in danger." Right? It's a natural reaction. It's like the same thing when you're like, when you don't want to go into a work when you're a teenager and you're like, "My grandma died." Like, just stop asking me questions. Right? Like that's what that means. It's like, don't ask me any more questions. I'm not coming. And I would say that fear, the fear of something happening is a much greater driver than something actually happening. Because suspension is going to create tension. It just happens naturally. And I think that they all know that just as well as I do. And the only reason why I say that that is more than likely a huge factor when dealing with those scenarios, is it's because it's exactly what I would rely on if I was doing this job. If I was an alternate version of me that was evil, that's the same way I would do it.
Yeah,
Right. And I put myself purposefully in that mindset because I want to know how they think. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know their brain more than they do, because when I defeat them psychologically, physically it is no issue.
Mhm.
Men will crumble underneath themselves.
Yeah, yeah. So we do have your website on the show.
Yes, sir.
I mean, on showing up there. Why don't you? I mean, tell people where to donate. Is it through the website or?
Yeah, so we have a donation tab on the website that you can donate to. It goes directly to us. We also have a website that should be linked on there for T-shirts. A percentage of that goes back to Project Liberty, and the other portion goes to supporting. It's a kid that runs the website. He's using it to get through college.
Okay, great.
So part of it comes to us, and then part of it goes to him. So if you would like support, we have a couple of new cool T-shirt designs in the works. Right now it's just our logo, but I've got a couple of things coming out. So yeah, I think that donate is the best thing if you want to support, if you want to help. We're always taking volunteers for anybody who would like to volunteer and help us. We will never turn you away. And then for anybody watching that wants to know what they can do to help in their own life, be accountable, hold people accountable, increase the accountability of your community. Make sure if somebody knows anything, the fact that they have that knowledge and are complicit in saying anything means that they are adding to the problem, not solving it. So hold people accountable, hold yourself accountable, make sure that you're holding your children accountable.
Great.
That's the best way that you can fight this from home.
Yeah. So great. Thank you. Appreciate it. And folks that are local to our area, or at least Illinois, in my area, Mike's in Ohio. If there's interest in being maybe a point of contact to help collaborate with Josh, just reach out to me, right? Let me know. I mean, better, more eyes and ears on the ground, the better for these people that are enslaved.
Absolutely. I will answer morning, noon, and night. Does not matter what time of the day. If you call me and you have an issue, we will start the process right then and there. And if I don't have an answer, I will find somebody who does.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you, Josh,
Thanks for being here.
USA. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
So that was interesting. I give him a lot of credit for dedicating his time, and especially after getting out of college and serving in the military. So it's a lot of work to do that. It's a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of sacrifice, right? And not very little reward at all, financially or anything, right? So he's sacrificing a lot because there's not many people that. I can't even get dads to speak up at school board meetings about porn being in their school, let alone this young man dedicating his life towards trying to help these people that he doesn't know and protect them. So I give him a lot of respect. So Mike, go ahead, bud.
I just want to say one other thing on this. I do think there's like a lot of adults that it's almost like it's too much for them to deal with this. Like confronting this kind of evil is something they're not prepared for. That they know it exists, but it's like if they're confronted with it face to face, they just don't even know how to handle it.
Yeah. Looks like my camera's a little crooked from when I had Teresa on here. Remember, I had it over to the right. And I'm sitting there looking the first half. I'm like, well, on this side. So you do all the shows throughout the day. Mike's a very busy man. What are some of the newsworthy topics? We got what? We have 5 minutes left.
So we got 5 minutes.
Hotlines, brother.
All right, let me get something pulled up here too. Sorry, 1 second here, because this morning I mostly.
Or while we're buying time with Mike, I got to be cautious of what I say here, but people know I've been going through some craziness with the whack job, freak nut job, and a stalker. bisexual stalker. And I have a appeal coming up. I have an appeal. And I'm
Nice.
and it's looking good based on the relationship that this corrupt, sleazy individual's attorney had with the judge, that there was bias, and we're going to expose that. But stay tuned on that. Well, Mike's pulling. What are we going to talk about there, Mike?
Well, we got a few stories. Like this morning, most of what I talked about was everything with these DSA candidates, because they just won 3 more seats in Colorado, almost 4. That the cancer is spreading, and what do we do to deal with it? Because
Democratic Socialists of America, folks. Not everyone knows it. It's Democratic Socialists of America, and they're all over the place. You guys that live here in Chicago with me, these bastards are everywhere. They're organized. They're funded. There's I went to that Maduro thing that when they captured him, they had like 20 communist socialist organizations there within 15 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's big in Chicago. It's everywhere, guys. It's everywhere. And we have to fight back.
Yeah, and I think there's some false hope among conservatives right now. Like, oh, well, these guys can never win nationally. But you got to keep 2 things in mind. Like, Democrats go out and hold their nose and vote no matter what, even when they know it's a horrible candidate. They stay their own. They're not going to be staying home. And the DSA has been very clear with what they're doing. Right now, they're going out, they're running as Democrats because they need that infrastructure. They need the gazillion of dollars that's gone into that over the centuries here, building up voter bases, communications, all that. They're basically wearing the Democrat Party as a skin suit, but their goal is to take it over. And that's what people need to understand. These old school Democrats, like Dan Goldman, just lost his seat in New York. I know there's a number of other ones. This one lady.
I hated that fucker. Sorry. I couldn't help myself. I hated that guy with a passion. I don't like. I mean, Jesus, Democratic Socialists need to be hung by their toes in the White House. But I hated Goldman. That he's the guy. Every time I saw him, I wish I could just punch him in the face.
Oh yeah, I mean, they are taking out some horrible Democrats, like this lady that just lost to her, the Ethiopian-born socialist Milot Kuros, wants immediate pathway to citizenship for every single illegal alien. She took down a Democrat that's been in Congress for 30 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, remember McCarthyism? They talked about that guy was right. He was right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the answer is right here. Oversight Project says ICE should deport pregnant illegal immigrants after SCOTUS birthright citizenship ruling. We got to start doing that immediately. Anybody's here illegally, if you're pregnant, bump them out of the country. We got to go after these birth tourism companies, everything.
Mike, so we have a story to do specifically on this, right? I covered the Venezuelans, all that other shit, the crime. And I had one of my friends, Robbie Corso. Hey, Robbie from Angie's Pizza. If you're around the south side of Chicago, southwest side of 85th and Pulaski, go to Robbie Corso's, Angie's Pizza. That's a buddy of mine. I knew since birth. And that's in the heart of, city of Chicago workers. And one of his customers is a fireman, and he would be in there all the time. And there's the Holiday Inn on 71st and Cicero. Me and Ben were there a number of times. And I'll show you guys a lot of people that haven't seen that. And we were assaulted by these jamokes, the security guards. And so then my friend Robbie called me and he said, yeah, a fireman just left here. He told me that they had to have so many times that they were going to the Holiday Inn to give birth to illegal Venezuelans' babies at the Holiday Inn on 71st and Cicero. So this went out everywhere, and I ran Fotis, and Mike, I got him. I haven't even went through them to find out how many times this occurred at other centers. So think about this, folks, right? These scumbags, stupid scumbag SCOTUS people, I just don't know how any Republicans voted for that. We know the Democrats are Marxists. What they're doing is they're allowing tourism births. China made it into a business.
Yeah.
They made it into a business. They birth a kid here. They take them back to China. They brainwash them, send them back, and then we fund their school. And then they use them to go in our corporations for corporate espionage or military espionage, right? I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
I can't believe retards did that.
They could literally come back and run for president.
Yeah, now we have Venezuelans. I mean, think about the influx. We had like, they said there's 20 million, right? They were banging each other as soon as they got here. They're banging like bunnies, man. So we don't even know how many of. I'd love to know. I mean, they were doing it on purpose, right?
Yes.
And so we have these illegals that came here and they're having babies when they've been here, of 20 million of them. I mean, we got to have 1.5 million probably babies that were birthed out of these illegals from the invasion. And it's just disgusting, man.
Well, what we need to do is, again, we need to get serious. We're going to have Congress actually change the laws. So, right now, they call it an anchor baby for a reason. It's because the parents get to stay here too once they have a kid and that kid's American. Well, you know what? I think it's time to start deport the parents no matter what. They can take the kid with them if they want. Now, easy way to fix this would be if you leave the United States for a period of greater than 5 years, we'll say, maybe 10, that is automatically considering renouncing your U.S. citizenship, and then they would lose all rights. That would end birth tourism right there. But we're going to have to find our testicles and start changing the laws so that we can actually get rid of these people. Because otherwise, nothing's going to happen. Congress isn't going to act on their own unless we've got a knife to their throat and are forcing them to make changes.
Right. Oh my God. So I think we're at the end of our hour here. So that was an interesting call. We're going to have Ryan Matta. I was texting with Ryan while we were on the show because he was supposed to give me Brian's got some great shit to show you guys. I mean, he got inside where they had all kinds of crazy stuff, and he did and I'll send it out to you guys later. He did a documentary that I hosted him in Chicago, actually, Mike. I think I was talking to you then, right? I hosted him in Chicago. And
oh, yeah. I've known Ryan for a long time.
So, when he did his documentary here, I kind of took him all over Chicago. And he also did one on human trafficking. and his partner, JJ Carroll, went back. He works for ICE now, during all this stuff with Tom Holman and stuff. And I texted him before. He was busy. He's on vacation with his family. I love JJ Carroll. And we'll get those guys on in the future. I don't think JJ can come when he's on ICE now working for ICE, but Ryan can.
No, but Ryan still can. Yeah, tell Ryan I said hello. I've known Ryan for a while.
Mm-hmm. So I guess before Mike does his closing statement, I guess I just want to tell everyone that there's a couple circle jerk clowns out there that are stalking us. Mike knows who they are, and we're going to keep pummeling them, especially the king of the circle jerks. You know exactly who you are, you bitch. And I'm not done with you. You think you won? You're not. You didn't win shit, brother. Go ahead, Mike. Close it out, baby.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And we'll be back next week on Tuesday with even more. Thanks again, guys. And have a great 4th of July this weekend.
Thank you.